Here in the shower, somewhere between rinsing out the shampoo and just standing there for 11 minutes not moving, you've already won an argument with someone who doesn't even know they've upset you yet. Or you're driving to work, and somewhere on the motorway you deliver the most devastating comeback to something your manager said 3 weeks ago. Perfect timing. Everyone in that imaginary room is quietly impressed. Then a horn snaps you back, and you realize you've been doing 40 in the fast lane, wearing the face of someone accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award. If any part of that made you want to glance around nervously, good, because there's something that happens inside a very specific kind of mind, and almost nobody talks about it accurately. Not the everyone daydreams thing. This is something that slowly stops feeling like a habit and starts feeling like a place you actually live. And it rarely gets discussed properly because the people who experience it are usually the last to think anything's wrong. From the inside, it doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like relief. So what's actually happening up there? You have a network called the default mode network, and it switches on the moment you stop focusing on the outside world. The second your attention drops, it lights up and starts generating you, your memories, your fears, the rehearsed conversations, the imagined futures. That's exactly what it's built to do. But in some people, it doesn't just flicker on now and then. It becomes the preferred setting. The brain starts treating the world inside your head as more rewarding than the world in front of your face. And once that happens, reality starts to feel thin, flat, like it's missing something. A clinical psychologist named Eli Somer at the University of Haifa named this back in 2002. He called it maladaptive daydreaming. And what he found is that this isn't just zoning out. People were spending hours, sometimes most of their waking day, inside stories they'd built entirely in their own heads. Detailed worlds, recurring characters, plots that grew over months, even years. And almost all of them had one thing in common. The imagined world gave them something the real one hadn't. Not escapism in the lazy sense. It's that the scenarios in your head give you control, emotional resolution, a version of closeness that feels safe in a way real relationships somehow never did. You can rewrite a conversation, rewind it, make the other person finally understand the way the actual person never quite did. And here's the catch. Your brain learns that emotional needs can be met internally. Once that lesson sinks in deep enough, stepping back into the friction of real life starts to feel genuinely worse than staying inside. Real people are unpredictable. Real conversations don't follow your script. Closeness is slow and uncertain. The daydream never lets you down like that, so you keep going back. And people get this wrong. It's not about being creative, and it's not about intelligence. What the research points to is a trait called absorption, deep, immersive focus. The people most prone to this are often the ones who get completely lost in a song or feel wrecked for hours after a film. They feel everything more intensely, so they built a room where they could feel it all on their own terms. Then comes the most damaging part, the shame. Because when you're 30 minutes into a scene where you're finally saying the thing you never got to say at 14, some part of you knows time is passing, that the world kept moving while you were gone. And before you've consciously decided anything, you're already halfway back in. The loop tightens. The shame feeds the need deepens the habit, and the habit starts swallowing the space where your actual life is supposed to be. But none of that makes it a flaw. The people who develop this are, statistically, people who at some point needed an exit the real world wasn't offering. Maybe home didn't feel safe. Maybe they were quietly lonely in places meant to feel warm. Maybe they were just a little too sensitive for the world they landed in, and this was the least destructive thing their nervous system could come up with. The daydream was never the problem. It was the solution. The only real question is whether it's still serving you now or whether it started to cost you something. And this is where I want you to stop for a second. Because some people, the moment they recognize themselves, want to shut the inner world down completely. But that's not where the research points. The goal isn't to become someone who never disappears into their own head. It's to figure out what the disappearing is doing for you, and then, slowly, awkwardly, start building some of that out here, in reality. What does the imagined version of connection give you that you won't let yourself ask for out loud? What does the fantasy of resolution give you that you won't allow yourself to go after? The fact that you can build entire worlds inside your mind with emotional nuance and characters that feel real, that's not a defect. That's a remarkable ability that simply never found the right outlet, the right person, the right moment of safety to exist out loud. The tragedy was never that you imagined so deeply. It's that somewhere along the way, you decided depth was only safe when nobody could see it. So if you watched all of this and felt a particular kind of quiet recognition, the kind where you had to remind yourself to breathe, hear this. Nothing about you needs to be fixed. You adapted. Quietly, privately, in a way nobody ever saw or gave you credit for. If you'd like to go deeper, I've put together a collection of books on psychology, human behavior, and independent thinking. The full list is on my bookshop page, link in the description and the pinned comment. And if this is the kind of thing you want more of, consider subscribing and turning on the bell so the next one finds you. I genuinely appreciate you being here. See you in the next one.